We started the stream. Now all I need is for it to arise. Let us see if I have any volume on the computer. Because I should. Oh, it turns out the computer is the problem. Crap, maybe I've had the audio this whole time. No! Let's check on here. Do I have audio here? Hello. Check on here. Oh, I do. God damn it. Do I have audio here? Whatever. Oh, I do. God damn it. Do I have Let's test here? This voice level. Whatever. Oh, I do. God damn it. Do I have Let's test here? This voice level. What? Okay, that's fine. Hopefully the crackle will resolve itself, but we shall see. Okay. Good enough. We will call it good. There we go. Did it just get rid of the fake streams? I think it did. So we'll just leave that as it is. Okay, looking good. Who's the other captain here? Kabuski. No, it's the one we have. Oh, are we on the? Yeah, we're on that screen. Whatever. Okay. All right. All right, looks like we're about to start this puppy off. To my fantastic stream viewer, welcome. We are about to start this match off here momentarily, and I will get us a nice snazzy little intro here right as soon as we get into the champ select. So thank you for hanging out. Feel free to talk in the little chat box. I will be monitoring that throughout as well as I can. Mostly I get distracted by all the action going on the screen, but I try and glance over every now and again to see if there's any new messages there. And if anybody else shows up on the stream to join you, hey, hang out, chat. Also, let me know if there's any audio issues. I thought I was having some audio issues earlier. Apparently I was not, and it was all in my head, but sometimes I get a crackle. Let me know if there's anything like that. Alright, here we go. Hello everyone and welcome to the After Hours Gaming League. I am your caster for the match, Crit Chronic War Catalyst. This is week 12 and we will be having a match between Kabam on the blue side. Kabam, of course, develops and publishes massively multiplayer social games. They're a huge company in that field, and I would be surprised if you haven't played one of their games. And they are playing against, on the red side, Team LinkedIn, which LinkedIn is like a social media network for your job, which is actually really cool and new, very modern thinking company there. So fantastic companies here playing against each other today, and they are both playing for the charity Child's Play. Child's Play brings children in hospitals and domestic abuse centers the joy of gaming to help them sort of reconnect with their childhood again and get back to, you know, being a kid and being able to enjoy their time as a kid. But without any further ado, let's get into the picks and bans of things here. We do see, of course, the anti-ban coming out from the red side. That is, of course, a targeted ban here against the Boater. I'm really terrible with these names, but that Annie coming out is not something that we are unused to seeing. So definitely a targeted ban there, wanting to kick that right out from under that, as well as the Cassidon ban, of course, going to be targeted there, but possibly just a knee-jerk response to seeing that LeBlanc ban. Not totally uncommon to ban out the Cassidon if you can't blow him up with LeBlanc. I've seen many a Cassidon be picked into a LeBlanc as sort of a counter pick with that shield, but the LeBlanc burst a little bit too much for Cassidon in the early stages, so we will of course see how all of this plays out if my friends will stop messaging me on this site. So we do see, of course, that Nautilus being first pick. That is a very contested pick nowadays, but it was also just a standard pick here for this red team. We have seen that Nautilus coming out in the jungle even before the recent changes that has made Nautilus a very standard support nowadays. But most importantly, we do see the Aurelia being picked up on the red side. Again, a very comfort pick champion here for Kaputski in the top lane. Though it looks like we're going to see Trundle coming out as well in the jungle. More standard jungler here on the blue side in Sejuani. But it will be nice to see that Trundle coming out here, laying down that, raising up those spikes, slowing people. Really great gank potential, especially in that top lane if you can get that started off with that Aurelia stun. Make sure they land that slow. Gonna be a very devastating gank here, just beating somebody down in the top lane. It looks like it will be the Maokai coming out in the top lane. The passive heal on the patch that just came out today, I believe. Passive heal on Maokai was reduced slightly, not a huge, but a noticeable amount in the early stages of the game. So we will see how well this Maokai is used to those changes already. Perhaps they've gotten in a few practice games before the start of the day. Before the start of this match, I should say, early on in the day, to get used to those changes in the early stages, figure out how to navigate those new sustain ratios. And of course we are seeing the Karthus coming out in the mid lane here. Definitely great to see that with the team that was leaning a little bit towards this engage on you composition here with that Sivir, with that Sejuani, with that Nautilus. They're going to look to pile on to the red side team as quickly as possible here. And Karthus, especially when sped up by the Sivir ultimate, plays into that very well. Karthus just loves to get right in the middle of team fights. Preferably not die, but even if he does die, of course he does have that passive to just last through that team fight. Of course we're seeing champions getting swapped around here to their proper lanes. It looks like the final pick for this red side is going to be that Syndra in the middle lane. Syndra fallen out of favor, I should say, recently, but still, of course, a very strong pick. been mostly playing Earth mode myself lately, so I'm used to seeing those 18 balls getting ulted into you. Won't be quite as devastating here now in a normals game, but definitely still a force to be reckoned with, especially with the Luden's Echo now active again. Gonna be able to really get a lot of burst damage when you can get that stun, slam the ball on top of them, and then get that ultimate thrown all at him. So, looking a little bit at the summoner spells here, we do see fairly typical summoner spells coming out here. With that Syndra, of course, that's going to mean Karthus is going to be taking that exhaust. Hopefully, he'll be able to slam down that exhaust on Syndra whenever he sees her about to throw out her ultimate. Give him a little less concerns throughout the laning phase, which, of course, Karthus being fairly weak in the early game, is going to need as much help there as possible to try and survive. Trundle, not the strongest ganker. If he doesn't land that pillar, he's going to have some troubles catching Karthus in that very short middle lane. But of course, that is why you have a Syndra who can set up those ganks, especially if she does knock Karthus towards the Trundle as well. Definitely going to be a very devastating moment for Karthus there. So that exhaust, I should say, is going to be very critical to surviving any of those ganks early on. And we do see, just looking at the compositions a little bit more for the red side, it looks like there's largely going to be only Leona for the engage here. There's, of course, some soft engage here with the pillar from Trundle, with the Aurelia just being able to dive in and start a fight whenever she feels like it. But Leona is going to be the primary source of engage here, so landing those ultimates from Leona and actually being able to get a Zenith Blade onto somebody who's a very good target to stun out is going to be the primary source to start off fights here for this red side. Warding, of course, going to be very key for that. We might see some death brushes coming out from this red side. Blue side seems more likely to just want to find a pick and just go as soon as they do, or as soon as they're starting to group for a team fight and they feel like they're in even the slightest advantageous position to just hit that Sivir ultimate and just charge right in. Red side's going to have to be a little bit more tactical than that, but certainly does make up for that with a lot of damage. Aurelia, definitely nothing to sneeze at. Graves, of course, very strong, especially in the early game. Going to be quite a bit of a lane bully here, though. He is paired up against Sivir, who is equally a lane bully herself, so we'll be paying close attention to that bottom lane to see which side gets a little bit of an edge early. Possible early level 2 could spell disaster for one side or the other in that bottom lane, as of course Nautilus and Leona both have very strong engagement tools in that bottom lane. So we'll see as we get loaded into the game here what are going to be the starts here for both sides, if there's going to be any invade shenanigans going into this game, or if we're going to see just some standard clean starts here with the line of scrimmage. Of course, we have that beautiful background art now with this new patch, looking very snazzy, making these load screens just a little bit more beautiful. It is, of course, noteworthy as well that Syndra, where is she on here, did take Ignite for this middle lane. Fairly standard on Syndras to be able to secure those early kills, and definitely going to be champion in Karthus that can be killed early on. So we'll see if that Syndra opts to take a little bit of a slower approach to the game and try and get a very sneaky 6 off onto that Karthus and get that ultimate and combine her Ignite with that ultimate to try and get the kill at 6, or if she can force some damage onto him early, poke him out a little bit, and then get a sneaky ultimate, or before her ultimate, get a sneaky Ignite on him. and pick up an early kill to get herself going early on. It looks like the blue side will be grouping all together and heading over to this tri-brush area as they pinged out on the map. Fairly standard items for everybody so far. Karthus, of course, taking that flask for a little extra sustain to try and survive that Syndra poke early on to prevent that exact scenario we were just discussing of sneaky ignite coming out a little bit early. Looks like the blue side is just waiting to see if the red team's gonna peek a little bit. Syndra is peeking a little bit here, but unfortunately they were not in that brush prepared for her, and that is going to be the ward spotting out being most of the entire team here. Yeah, I believe they will know right now. Yeah, they will be able to spot out that the whole team is there. Aurelia unfortunately already threw down her ward, I believe. No, she did not. Would be a good chance for that Aurelia to try and go get a deeper ward in that blue area around the blue buff of blue side's jungle, I should say. But gonna opt to just play it safe, hang out in her tri-bush, make sure nothing crazy goes down. And it looks like it's gonna be fairly standard starts here from both sides. Bot lanes doing their thing. Not even gonna start Krugs here on the bottom side. And probably just a good leash going over to this Trundle here onto the ground. Yeah, it looks like all that XP will be handed over to the Trundle. As we see mirrored jungle starts here, going over to their respective blue buffs. Looks like overall fairly equal starts here in the bottom lane. A little bit of an advantage towards that Sivir, but not quite able to get to that level 2 just yet. And Leona getting a little confident there, walking up, just throwing down a point-blank stun onto that Nautilus. Of course, Nautilus, with his passive ability to root people with those auto attacks, going to be able to return that CC even without using an ability, as we see a lot of slugfest here going back and forth in the top lane. Of course, full sustain starts from both sides here, so those exchanges, while looking a little devastating early on, are not going to be too much of concern here. Really, you're just going to chug through those flask charges, pop those potions, and be alright. Not too much level 2 action coming out from the bottom lane. As we see Sivir starting to run a little low on mana from trying to shove that wave out a little bit. Unfortunately, she hasn't been able to deny too much CS by getting that into the tower, but we'll see with this wave if she's able to push that in. As we see in the top lane, the exact same scenario here. The wave now crashing into the tower, possibly going to deny some last hits from that Aurelia. Oh, the hook just barely missing on that Nautilus. Barely, of course, using those dashes to finish that off. Karthus getting stunned up. You're going to take a little bit of damage from that Syndra. Again, with the full sustain start from him as well with that flask, going to be able to be just fine. Still has some health pots as well. We see Aurelia getting aggressive again here in the top lane. And the roots coming out from that Nautilus. Getting a fair bit of exchanges back and forth here as we see Trundle coming up into that top lane here. Gonna be able to take a good bite out of this Maokai. The killer does not land, but does get the slow, and that will be the first blood going over to that Aurelia in the top lane. And great hook by the Nautilus. The heal gonna save Leona though, and Sivir needs to be careful. She is taking those caster minion aggros, and with Leona diving in, that's gonna be enough. Nautilus wants the kill onto Leona. He will flash for it to get the last auto, but that's gonna cost him his life here, as Graves surely not gonna let this Nautilus get out of here. Unfortunately, that is a warded brush here. Nautilus trying to get in the minion line to try and draw as much aggro onto him as possible, and taking a lot of damage is that Graves, but he is going to be able to make it out of there just fine. And pick up a kill from himself as well in that bottom lane. We see Trundle being chased out of the jungle here with Sejuani, asserting her dominance here. See Maokai already feeling the effects of that early kill, that first blood onto Aurelia. Didn't quite have enough money to complete that phage, but already able to chunk out that Maokai, who only was able to pick up a single ruby crystal. Hopefully they'll be able to turn that around here as Sejuani's coming in with the gank and the ultimate from Karthus as well. No, Aurelia is still able to pick up the kill before Sejuani gets the return kill. Overall, that is a little bit worth for the blue side, as they did get the 2 extra assists on that, but taking a lot of time from Sejuani, taking the Karthus ultimate as well, and only getting a 1-for-1, not what you want to see here if you are the blue side. Trundle gonna have that denied, I do believe. No, that did go over to the red side, but the slow from Karthus gonna prevent too much from out of there, but the flash gonna be enough to get in range. The pillar not gonna be able to create enough distance, and it actually is Karthus with the lay waste gonna be picking up the kill there. And great hook onto that Leona. Unfortunately for her, she was hatching a ward there, as she went to throw down her ward herself as well. Does not have any sustain left aside from those charges of the relic shield to get herself a little passive healing. We'll see if she's able to get some of those melee minions in the next wave here. Aurelia is still getting aggressive onto that Maokai. She knows that none of those kills have gone onto him, and it's just been onto that Sejuani, and she has that completed phage now. Gonna be able to outtrade that Maokai quite a bit. So we see some wards being cleared out here in the bottom lane as the junglers fight again over another Scuttle Crab. See who's going to be able to pick it up this time. It looks like with the Leona coming in. No, gonna force the smite actually. Leona fairly low and will be hooked by the Nautilus, but he does not have his support. The Karthus and Sejuani deciding to go back towards the middle lane here. Karthus throwing down lay waste to get some vision. Gonna be able to try and contest it here. Not sure if he'll be able to get it though. No, it's gonna be pulled far and away out of that bush. Or into that bush, out of his range. And just barely making it out of there is Maokai. Aurelia with that ultimate gonna be able to put out quite a bit of damage onto him. Force him out of the lane here. Actually gonna hang around, doesn't want to miss this huge wave of CS in the top lane. Gonna be able to clean that up pretty well. But might get aggressive on him here, and he actually does knock her into the turret range. And gonna flash to try and get the kill here. The minion aggro not gonna be enough to save Aurelia. Great outplay by the Maokai. Aurelia dashing in just a little bit too deep. Maokai instantly landing the CC as soon as Aurelia charged in. Fantastic play by the Maokai. Gonna help him quite a bit in evening up that lane now. As he will be able to go back and pick up that Catalyst the Protector here. Gonna get himself a little bit extra sustain to deal with that harassment that has been poking him out so hard in lane. As we see here, the Catalyst is picked up along with a pair of boots. And Karthus is going to be stunned up here, and that will be the ultimate coming out. Not going to be quite enough damage though. Sejuani looking to make plays happen in the middle lane, but the ult from Graves misses. And Nautilus absolutely harassing Graves down quite a bit, but here is Syndra with that support is going to be giving the kill over to Karthus. And the teleport coming in for the Maokai, going to be able to slow down that Leona. And she is forced to flash here. But will this be the dive? It looks like Maokai really wants it, but his team gonna think better of it here. Without the minion support, gonna just pull back, secure that dragon after creating this pressure here in the bottom lane. Leona and Graves trying to clear out this wave as quickly as they can, but unfortunately with 5 men on this dragon, that's going to be simply too much to try and reasonably contest here, as that is going to be the first dragon of the game going over to the blue side here. Aurelia being left alone in that top lane, going to be able to have another minion wave coming. Maokai does not have that teleport up, as he did teleport into the bottom lane, so blue side going to just try and answer in the bottom lane. But that will be some turret aggro going on to these members, going to force them off the turret here. Leona and Trundle going to be enough to prevent any more damage onto that turret. We see Aurelia still hanging on the top lane, but going aggressive here in the bottom lane is that Leona Trundle again, trying to prevent people from going back here, successfully doing so as well. Syndra just peeking every now and again, trying to get some damage onto that Karthus, and gonna force the jump away off Sejuani as Graves comes in, gets some auto attacks here and there, and they finally do manage to clear that pink ward out of the tri-bush. Great hook by Nautilus there, unfortunately just outside of the turret range. Not going to be able to create too much out of that, but Nautilus definitely landing a lot of hooks this game. Gonna have to start respecting that potential CC coming out of there, as they're looking to try and clear out this turret, and that is going to be the ultimate from Leona, and with the buckshot, or excuse me, the Graves ultimate not missing this time, that should be enough with the last. No, Nautilus gonna make it out just barely alive. Here comes Karthus. Does not have that ultimate up yet, so it looks like those 2 blinking red members of the red side are going to be able to make it out just barely. Karthus again trying to create some damage here. Another 3 blinking red members still, but Karthus just not quite enough time on that ultimate yet. It looks like Syndra going to be able to back just barely in time as well. It's Graves creating a little fight there in the bottom lane between the 2 carries, but not much going to come of it here, as they both now are out of mana, except for, of course, Sivir, who can just get that mana back when she spell shields Graves' last ability there. Karthus now with the ultimate up, but again, looks like it is unfortunately too late, as all the members are going to be just fine here, especially with the Graves recalling now. Very unfortunate timing there on the cooldown. You see the slugfest in the top lane continue. Sheen and Faith completed now for Aurelia. Going to be very dangerous with a lot of potential burst here. And Leona, unfortunately the turret aggro did go onto Sivir. Leona going to be forced to throw down her ultimate there. And the flash immediately coming out of Aurelia, respecting the possible ultimate from Sejuani. Great play there. Not even going to risk it. Might have been able to hang out a little bit to try and bait out the actual ultimate itself, but gonna just play it totally safe here. As we see the style double wards coming out into that bush, as they look again to try and get control of this tri-bush here. Now it's going to be forced to hop away, and that will be the Karthus ultimate coming out. Not going to get too much done onto anybody though. Perhaps thinking a little bit more of a fight was breaking out in the bottom lane. Or working rather as more of a deterrent to prevent Nautilus from getting engaged on too heavily there. Nautilus looking for that hook on the Graves. He's actually just going to walk forward. He does get the hook onto that Graves, but the ultimate from Graves, just simply too much burst damage here. Far too much to be dealt with right now, and that is going to be another kill onto this Graves. Now 3-0-1. Graves absolutely looking to dominate here in this bottom lane. Trundle gonna be calling out Karthus, challenging him a little bit there with that Chilling Smite. So we see Sivir picking up a little extra experience for herself here as she goes back to clear out that minion wave. Right now it looks like, looking at the CS scores, we do have a very minor advantage in the bottom lane as far as creep score is concerned. Only 10 CS lead, of course. Those 3 kills making up the vast majority of that difference here. And Karthus getting the ultimate thrown down on him, but Sejuani coming in immediately after does miss the ultimate though, so not going to be able to get too much done onto that Syndra aside from forcing the flash there. Ultimate for a flash though, definitely worth that exchange. And Karthus here, with those 2 kills already and the rod now completed and stacking, going to become a huge threat going forward. And there's the exhaust, going to force the flash of Trundle, but very low is that Maokai in the top lane. As we see this battle just going wild here in the bottom lane, there's going to be the teleport coming in from Aurelia just as that Nautilus goes down, and that is 5 members now around this dragon right as it spawns. You've got to think that this is going to be a dragon going over to the red side here. Karthus looking to try and get a little bit more poke damage on there, but that is going to be the bursting from that ultimate coming out to pick up Sejuani. And now without that Sejuani up, it's going to be nigh impossible to contest this dragon here. Karthus not quite available with that ultimate just yet, so Trundle is very low. Actually going to be able to just walk around here and avoid taking any damage to prevent that Karthus ultimate picking him up here. That is Leona going quite deep here onto this Karthus alone, but Graves going to dash in, and let's see if that ultimate is enough to get the return kill onto Leona. No, just barely. Leona making it out with just 50 hit points. Insanely close. 3 blinking red members again, as we do see Maokai finishing up that top lane turret to get a little bit of an answer for that dragon. Oh, but very unfortunate for that Karthus. A near triple kill, but just not going to be enough in the end. I was even thinking that Leona went a little bit too aggressive there, jumping over the wall, but that Graves so fed now with 4 kills with that Infinity Edge already completed. And now Aurelia power spiking really hard with her completed Trinity Force, as well as the Spectral's Cowl, to try and be able to survive all that Maokai and Karthus damage as it does come out. As we see, of course, both of them have Rods of Ages that are now stacking up here. Karthus a little bit ahead of the game as far as the stacks are concerned, but both of those are going to be hitting their stacks pretty soon, as Karthus transitions into just some raw damage here with that needlessly large rod coming out. Infinity Edge, of course, now completed for that Sivir as well, though she is still sitting on tier 1 boots here. It is, of course, Sivir, so mobility probably not going to be too much of a concern as long as she has that ultimate up. We're seeing, of course, both junglers opt to go for the Juggernaut enchantment for their jungle items here. Get nice and tanky as per the meta dictating. Looks like with 4 members here, they're going to look to try and create kill here onto this mid lane turret. Leona gonna get a beautiful ultimate onto the aggro Sivir. Not quite sure how she drew the turret aggro, but unfortunately that is gonna be the kill onto Sivir, the carry to start this off. And blue side is in absolutely full retreat, and that's gonna be a 3 for nothing. Just a little bit too far forward there, getting the turret aggro onto their carry. Gonna result in a devastating team fight there that will also result in a trade of the mid lane tower and possibly Karthus going down as well. Yes, that will be the Karthus dying here. Ultimate not available either, so charging into this is Maokai to try and get those people nice and low, but unfortunately no ultimate to follow up with there. And that's going to be the low members just recalling, and an extended ace there for nothing. Going over to the red side as we see that gold advantage spiking now. Nearly 6.5k gold lead for the red side. And picking up that blue buff as well. Syndra, of course, just going to make sure nothing happens there. Going to pick up her friend, throw him aside a little bit. Sivir going to actually have to ult away from... No, going to flash. Going to be able to dodge that Syndra. And with the Karthus ultimate, that will be enough. And all of a sudden, red side got a little bit too aggressive here. That should be... No, not going to go down. No, the Nautilus will be able to slow him down. And with the flash, Sejuani not quite going to be able. That is the pop of the Cutlass. And with Leona, the peel just a little too strong here. Not going to be able to get the kill. But they will be able to rotate right back down here and finally finish off that mid lane turret. Get a little bit of that global gold for themselves. So you see the dragon now spawning in under 2 minutes. We see the blue side cruising on down past that dragon to try and throw down some wards here. A little bit of preparation. But unfortunately, the red side going to be able to challenge that setup with Graves here as well. Sejuani doesn't want to take this. That is the ultimate thrown out already from Graves. So much damage onto that tanky Sejuani. Even with that Cinderhulk enchantment, excuse me, not Juggernaut, Cinderhulk, and the Righteous Glory now completed, that is just not enough resistance. The raw health just being obliterated by that really fed Graves here. Again, 4-0 and 3 now. Graves just becoming a nightmare. As we see Maokai doing his best to defend this top lane, but with Graves rotating up now, they might just have to give up this top lane here. So we're going to look to try and create some pressure to answer in the bottom lane, but Trundle just in the jungle for blue side. I believe he was pinged out. They do know he's there. Going to think better of it and just going to recall as they don't know where that Syndra is, as she's just now showing herself on the map. But that will be Trundle getting the red buff counter jungled away here. I'm going to walk right through the members here. Good pillar to slow him down. He's going to make it out just fine. And here we go. The slugfest continues in the top lane. Gonna actually be trading back and forth here. A little early pop on that ultimate there. Not gonna block out as much damage from the return shots. But gonna be doing quite alright. As we see going way deep is that Nautilus, who's gonna be forced to flash back out. And that will be a great ultimate from Sejuani, but not going to be enough. Unfortunately, all 5 members there going to be simply too much. And that is a pause coming through here. Unfortunately, the 4v5 there, so you see some connection problems happening for Civ. We're going to just DC and reconnect here momentarily. But yeah, unfortunately, that Karthus was right in the middle of people as they were leaving, but not going to be able to get anybody low enough to finish them off with the ultimate here. So that will be 2 for 0 over to the red side again. Now extending their gold lead to over 7k at this point in the game. Only 2 turrets ahead, but 11 kills, especially when they're on to Aurelia and Graves almost entirely here for the red side, making up 11 of those 17 kills. Those are not the people you want to be giving kills over to if you're this blue side here. Aurelia, now that she's transitioning into those tank items, is just going to get harder and harder to kill at this point in the game. And Graves does have the little extra protection here of some movement speed from the Phantom Dancer, of the Locket of the Iron Solari from that Leona. Going to be able to survive just fine, and that looks to be the second dragon of the game for this red side. third dragon of the game, but second dragon for the red team here. Gonna be uncontestable, of course. Sejuani not gonna try to be a hero there. You see Karthus does now have his death cap completed here. We'll be able to do quite a bit of damage now that the Rod of Ages is stacked for him. As we see pink wards starting to come out for this blue side, they absolutely got to start throwing down those pink wards to set up some semblance of mini objectives here to control and defend within their jungle. Certainly not spotty on the warding right now, just no permanent pink wards on the map currently. Needs to get those thrown up and try and extend their territory here back into their own jungle. As of course we had just seen Sejuani's just now finally clearing her red buff after it was just easily sauntered into and taken by that Trundle. They've got to set up some permanent vision here to prevent stuff like that from occurring. As those turrets have fallen quite a bit, they've ceded a lot of territories. We see Sivir throwing down pink ward herself a little bit more defensively in that bottom side as they're missing quite a bit. And that's going to be an insane amount of burst being thrown down onto that Karthus. Trundle gonna get him with the pillar in the end, but that will be Syndra going down. And the ultimate from Karthus actually possibly baiting that Sivir a little bit too far forward here. But with all the members of the red side now gathered in a beautiful ultimate from Leona, that will be the tank going down. A great parting ultimate from Sejuani, but unfortunately just too late. I see pings coming out onto that Baron. Going to be looking to take it here. No smite available currently for that Trundle, though it should be up momentarily. It's Trundle taken quite low almost immediately, though. Going to be relegated to running interference here. No, gonna get hooked by the Nautilus. And there's just not quite enough damage coming out from a Maokai and Nautilus, although Graves is so low here. If they could just find him, they'd be able to get the kill for sure, but unfortunately Graves back far and away. So that will be enough interference to prevent that Baron from going down here. And we'll draw the game out a little bit longer for this blue side, give them a little bit more time to try and recover here. So Sejuani going to be picking up that monster wave in the bottom lane. Now, as we mentioned in the champ select process, that Sejuani, that Nautilus, the Maokai, there's a lot of very strong CC that should be able to create quite a good pick opportunity here for this blue side if they can just find some members caught out here. Aurelia has been one to split push quite a bit, and it looks like they're going to try and create a pick here with that Maokai and the Karthus, but she's going to back away. With that Banshee's Veil coming out as well, it's going to be a little tricky to get her as one of the targets, but unfortunately with that 6Q and 4 stats onto her, she has become one of the forces to be reckoned with in this game. As we see now, the Luden's Echo is completed here for that Syndra. And there is some damage coming out onto that Fiora, though she does, or excuse me, not Fiora. Can you tell I like the Fioras? I miss seeing Fioras. The Aurelia, just too tanky at this point in time for two AP members of the blue side to do much by way of damage here. Now will be a beautiful ultimate there from Graves, gonna be able to clean up that Syndra, no problem. And lots of turret shots coming in onto this red side, but unfortunately not going to be enough. Sejuani, beautiful ultimate as well, but the team follow-up just was not there. And with that, that is going to be a lot of members here in this red side. Still healthy enough to siege up this turret, Will will Nautilus be able to defend along with Karthus here? It looks like they're gonna again get some good turret aggro onto the red side, but it's just not gonna be enough here as they are juggling the turret aggro. No, that will be Graves going down here. And it looks like that ultimate gonna be channeled from Karthus. No! It's not gonna pick up any kills. Both that Leona so low, the Trundle so low. I can't believe how many times this game that Karthus has come so close to picking up some kills with that ultimate and just left the red side with blinking red health bars. So unfortunate. I mean, just imagine if that Karthus had 2 or 3 more kills under his belt right now, this would be an entirely different game here. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case for this blue side. As we see, taking this opportunity where everyone did go back after that fight to try and get some deeper wards thrown down here, possibly catch some people out in their jungle here, create some picks, and if you can get a pick onto that, onto those carries for the red side, preferably of course the Graves, as he is walking over some wards right now. Gonna try and rush down the dragon quickly though, prevent that critical third dragon going over to the red side, and they will be able to do so here, as that is the ultimate pop from multiple people here. As we see a lot of damage coming out onto this blue team. Not quite enough damage onto that Graves. No, he will get picked up by the Karthus in the end, but by the time it happens, that is a full ace coming out from the red side here. Unfortunately, just too far behind at this point in the game when you're 10k behind. As hard as they tried to throw down the damage onto the right targets, we see, of course, Syndra's so low. Graves was in the end killed. It just wasn't enough, and unfortunately, that will cost them this middle lane inhibitor here. Silver gonna be up, but not gonna be able to defend it in time. And just throw down a little poke as they saunter away here. Possibly going to be able to fish out some of those pink wards. No, Trundle actually just going to rotate up to that top lane turret with that monster wave, try and create a little extra damage onto this turret as well, but not going to be able to do so as those two members are going to come over and clean up that wave. No problem here for the blue side. Trundle is going to be looking to pick up that Scuttlecraft, get that speed shrine up. Here's Karthus though, throwing down that ward. Going to be a little dangerous there, but luckily for him, going to be able to walk out of that just fine. Again, we do not want to not give proper credit here to that Trundle as well. 5-1 and 9. Been an absolute monster this game. Even opted to go with that Blade of the Ruin King despite getting the Cinderhulk enchantment or his jungle item to get a little extra split push threat, a little extra 1v1 potential here. I'm going to have to smite away that red buff there, but going to be certainly happy to do so. Prevent that from going on to Sivir. We see the blue side doing all they can just to defend their own jungle camps at this point. Trundle sets up that bot lane to push just a little bit, and now with Aurelia split pushing in the top lane, her teleport is not available. But it's going to be, well, Syndra now backing up to get her blue buff right now. It was about to be a 1-3-1. With those super minions, I suppose, being a sixth man here, still could be considered as such. But the red side gonna look to take this blue buff as well. Leona gonna be able to run interference here, not gonna be able to be contested in the end. Total dominance of the jungle for both sides over to this red team here. Now it looks like they're going to look to set up for a death crush here. They have cleared out all the vision from this red side. So Ward's going to be able to spot people out a little bit, and that's going to be the jump onto that Nautilus, and Karthus as well. Going to be going out here. They are hanging out in a lot of that damage from Karthus, but not going to be enough in the end. A few members quite low, but that's not going to be enough. The heal going to be coming out from Graves as well. Going to keep that Aurelia nice and healthy. As we see Leona trying to 1v1 the carry here with Graves in tow. Gonna flash actually. Keep the pursuit on. Graves dipped out a little bit. A slight miscommunication there of just how hard they were gonna go. So gonna be able to make it out with her life. Excuse me, is the Sivir. With the super minions pouring into the base now through that middle lane. That's going to be the top lane. Inner turret going to be going down. Not going to be able to contest that. Just Nautilus in the area. Now Karthus here as well. Looking to make something off of this. That is quite a bit of damage coming off that engage. And there is 2 kills going over to that Karthus. A good ignite, or a good exhaust onto the ADC for the red side, and that's gonna be Graves going down as well. All of a sudden, blue side, or the red side, bit off a little bit more than they could chew with that turret. I even thought that they were gonna be perfectly fine clearing up that turret before they could back out, and while they do get the turret, that is 3 members down, and that's gonna be the blue side looking to start off this dragon, or excuse me, this Baron, as Dragon is nearing to spawn as well. Trundle does have that smite available, unfortunately no flash for him. Gonna be a tricky one to contest here. But it looks like they are gonna walk around and try and do it. Throwing up the pillar, but not gonna be enough. Gonna think better than actually going in is Syndra. Gonna be able to pick up the Sivir, and Trundle taking the damage from the Baron. That's going to be a full sweep for both sides, a 2 for 2 at this point, but Aurelia going to be able to fend off this Maokai. And Maokai gonna just barely make it out alive. Yes, actually will be able to make it. Karthus going to be slowed down here, going to actually be stunned by that Aurelia. But here comes Nautilus trying to create as much peel as he can. Unfortunately, going to have to use the hook for himself just to get out alive, as that turret, of course, is no longer there. And that will be this inhibitor going back down. Very unfortunate for the blue side. So close to going to that Baron, to actually picking that up. That could have been a game changer there. Definitely the right plays they need to be making at this point. Need to try and be forcing those objectives, pressing those advantages where they can get them. But the red side just able to respond perfectly. Willing to take that risk to prevent that. And now looking to pick up their 3rd dragon here. Not going to be able to be stolen away though. The Sejuani did charge in. Waiting for that Sejuani ultimate. Of course it is not available. And that will be red side going to be able to clean up here. Unfortunately those key ultimates not available. The Sivir ultimate did come out as well as the Nautilus, but the Maokai not able to soak up quite enough damage there to survive. And that will be a 4 for 1 and the 3rd dragon for this red side, as they look to push in through this bottom lane here now. Overall a 13k lead. Leona taking quite low actually by those layaways. Going to be forced to back right away. Perth is going to zone her off a little bit, be a bit of a nuisance there. But Trundle going to clean out that pink ward. Going to pick up this red buff for himself as well. Actually, looking to see if he can catch somebody out. Could have done so with that Karthus, but Karthus going to just be able to throw down some vision. Actually caught in between the wall and the pillar. Oh no, Karthus absolutely blocked there, can't even move. But that might have gotten Trundle a little bit more cocky. Actually gonna work out for this blue side here. Trundle thinking he had glitched Karthus into a position he couldn't escape from. Not actually able to pick up the kill in the end, and that will prevent the smites from being available for this red side here. as they do throw down plenty of vision onto that Baron. That's going to mean, though, they aren't able to actually take it themselves. Nautilus doing his best to contest a 10 HP on the blue buff. Unfortunately, not going to go over to that Nautilus here. You see a lot of damage coming out, though probably not the fight they want to take here. Leona taking quite a bit of damage, but again, that Leona's so tanky now. With those super minions streaming into the base, trying to proxy out the next wave, give their base a little bit of breathing room here. But Trundle is back up. And with so much vision again laid down onto the Baron, it's going to be hard for this blue side to try and contest this, as they already had to send some members back just to deal with those creeps going into their base. And Leona, good jump onto that Sivir. Sivir forced to flash here. She is going to be able to make it out alive, just barely though, but she will be zoned out of the entire fight here. No, actually going to be jumped on even further by Aurelia, and that's going to mean more kills going over to this red side. Only the Leona going down so far. All the damage dealers still up and ready. Very aggressive flash there from the Trundle, but it will be worth it in the end, as Syndra going to be able to pick up the kill there as well. Karthus doing so much damage at this point in the game. Going to be able to get a return kill, but it's just not going to be enough, unfortunately. Or will it actually? Sejuani going to be able to pick up the kill onto Trundle, and might be able to do so onto Aurelia as well. Both of them taken so low, that's going to be the triple. The Sejuani damage not respected enough in this later stage here with that, goodness gracious, the Thornmail completed, of course, doing a lot of return damage to that Graves and Aurelia, and that is going to be Hero Sejuani riding that Poro to victory for her team here. Fantastic defense, and again, as we saw, Karthus has reached that point in the late game now with that stacked Rod of Ages, with that Death Cap, with that Void Staff, with that Zhonya. So much damage, so much penetration through the MR of this red side, that he's going to be doing insane amounts of damage into this later stages of the game here. And now everything is up for grabs here. We see blue side starting off this Baron. Not going to be able to get there in time. This Trundle, it's going to be up to Leona and Syndra to try and contest this out. But unfortunately, they're not going to be able to do so. And that is the Baron going over to the blue side here just in time. And with that, now we will see this red side having a little bit of trouble, as that is a Baron inhibitor in the middle lane for the blue side, but the Baroned up minions will be able to help with that defense. And of course, I do want to take a second to point out, there was a ward dropped here in the base, but this Nexus no longer vulnerable so long as this inhibitor is up. So possibly Aurelia was looking for a backdoor opportunity there, but just not going to be available so long as they haven't repressed through that inhibitor. And it looks like they're going to choose to try and contest this dragon instead. Probably the best choice here, given that Baron buff won't be affecting too much of that fight here without any minions present. Fighting the jungle going to be the best option here for the red side. So we see that beautiful Luden's Echo animation doing insane amounts of damage there. Now this is going to be quite a bit of damage on an Nautilus. Going to be forced to pop Face of the Mountain on himself. Not going to block out any damage there. And that will be Maokai caught out. Unfortunately, they're going to be forced to engage off of that. Maokai doing his best to take down those backline carries, but nothing going to be happening for this blue team, unfortunately, despite the carry damage not being there that whole time. Not going to be able to create any kills off the tanks themselves, and that will be Karthus' ultimate coming through. He did pick up Leona right before that kill, and that is, again, 3 blinking red members for Karthus. So close so many times to getting huge kills off that ultimate, but just not quite able to do so. Sejuani trying to be a hero again, not going to be able to defend that inhibitor. but will get the kill off of Trundle, and that will be Sivir actually getting the kill onto Trundle and Graves. Sivir throwing up that spell shield immediately. The Baron buff gonna help to stall this out. Syndra needs to be careful. She might go down to just the minion damage here, as she is quite low. And that will be the bottom lane turret going down, having to pull that focus to the middle lane here. Excuse me, that will be the top lane turret going down for the blue side, actually. So the Winions creating some opportunities here for this blue side to try and come back here. The teleport coming out from this Maokai here. Syndra just going to have to continue to back far too low to try and do anything at that Baron. Or excuse me, at that Dragon. As we see Sejuani coming in here as well. This should be third Dragon of the game for the blue side. Evening up that Dragon total here with the critical move speed buff to both teams now. All of a sudden, this looks to be anyone's game, despite, again, nearly a 9k goal lead here for the red side. 20 kills in the lead. 5 turrets up. Somehow, this blue side just keeps pulling it through. Karth is now almost full build here, dishing out immense amounts of damage. So certainly, the Syndra, nothing to sneeze at either, as she picked up just another needlessly large rod, going to be going into that Zhonya's Hourglass. Looking at the Graves, now full build here with those boots. Still possible to sell those boots in exchange for another item, but I'm going to opt not to here. Going to keep those boots, at least for the time being. I do believe, yeah, he just simply does not have the money to do so at this point. But nearly full build here is this Graves. As Sivir, nearly full build herself, does have this Quicksilver Sash built here, so she's going to be able to try and survive that with that spell shield, with that QSS to get through here. All these strong amounts of engage. And Karthus, of course, with his Zhonya's Hourglass as well, going to be able to dodge out of quite a bit of damage. Now with that Baron buff expired here, it's a hard defense for this blue side. They are doing quite a good job of just lighting up the map with their wards to make sure they are not cut out in their own jungle, as red side tries to impede that with their own warding as well. We see a very good depiction of where the line of scrimmage has sort of been drawn around what would be the inner turret area for this blue side, which again, just very impressive play from this blue side. Good game sense there, spotting out that Leona who's hiding in the death brush there. Now will be Maokai coming down to regroup with his team here. And again, with so many items completed here, that gold difference meaning less and less for this red side. And we can easily see a fight going either team's way here. The super minion's going to be pushing up the middle lane here. All determines on what sort of engagement we see in this bottom lane and how long this red side does try and stall it out to let those super minions just naturally push in the middle lane. Baron coming up in 45 seconds though. Might be looking to fall back here, throw some wards down, and regroup around that Baron. Try and force another fight outside of the base here. Give those minions even more time to group together and push up that middle lane. Some risky poking forward here from this blue side, doing everything they can to try and get some vision of their own around this Baron. Looks like they actually will be able to take the crab for themselves here. Going to be very helpful having that speed shrine available, in addition to just the irremovable vision, of course. You're going to definitely know what's up as that Baron is now live, but unfortunately for the red side, that blue inhibitor did just respawn, so no more are there going to be super minions streaming into the base for the red side. It's just going to be a normal push here. And there's a Sivir ultimate engaging. The hook does miss from Nautilus here, but Karthus doing quite a bit of damage onto those two members. Aurelia taking quite low already, and she will be going down, the first casualty of the fight here, along with Leona, and all of a sudden, blue side catching out the members they needed to, and that will be Graves going down as well. A 4 for nothing as Trundle, too late to the party here. Gonna be doing his best to fight underneath that turret, but taken so low, gonna be forced to back out. And that will be, again, a 4 for 1. Only the Sejuani going down for the blue side. Fantastic play there. So impressed by this comeback in this game for this blue side. Absolutely great team fighting in these later engages here. Despite being so far behind, they absolutely put the members in the front they needed. They split up the blue team as well as they could. Great teleport back in there to give those minions a little bit of extra time. Unfortunately, Karthus is going to be the one who's targeted down by both turrets here from the Nexus, but that's going to be one Nexus turret going down, another Nexus turret going down. I don't think Aurelia is going to be able to spawn in time to even contest this. No, that's going to be the game going over to the blue side despite being at a 10k gold deficit for so long in the game. Absolutely fantastic comeback play there from this blue side. I am so thoroughly impressed by this team here. The Kabam team absolutely mounting a very strong comeback. Multiple times throughout the game I was asking myself what could they do, and it just had to be create those picks, get those good team fights, and they were absolutely able to stall out the game as long as they needed. As we look at the items here, Sivir almost full build on the Sejuani, full build on the Karthus. Nautilus nearly full build himself. Maokai full build. Well, not quite. There was one slot there that he was buying wards on, but aside from that, I mean, that's if you get late enough in the game to where that gold difference doesn't matter anymore, that so many of the key people already getting full build on your team, and the red side capped out full build here nearly on this Syndra, full build on that Aurelia, full build on the Graves already. They've been capped out so long, the game just got easier in the late game. And when we're speaking about a late game, the Sejuani so tanky with that Cinder Hulk and all these health items built. So much resistance is onto that Sejuani. The Sejuani being the only one who went down in that last fight gives you an idea of how much damage had to be burned onto that Sejuani in that final fight just to take her out. And that is not the target you want to be focusing down at this stage in the game. Fantastic play. Looking at the damage scores here, we really see Karthus absolutely showing why he is such a threat if you can get to that late game. Those ultimates doing absurd amounts of damage to the entire team on the red side. So close throughout the game so many times to getting those kills. But even without getting those last hits onto those, like, I think it was probably around 7 kills that he missed just by the skin of his teeth, still able to do so much damage throughout the game, still able to complete his build there, and with the Abyssal Scepter was able to do so much damage in that last fight. The AoE magic resist shredding of that item absolutely made Karthus a monster and was able to just annihilate that last fight. Fantastic play from this blue side. Unfortunately, the LinkedIn team on the red side not able to close the game out despite having a definitive lead ever since the mid game. But again, sometimes that is just the way the ball bounces and you get to the late game and all of a sudden there's a Karthus on the other team. So fantastic play from both teams here. That will again be Kabam on the blue side picking up the win for their team. Just a fantastic game. I'm tripping over my words of how impressed I was by that game. And if you want to stay in touch with any of these games for these teams, the schedules will of course be posted to this beautiful website on your screen now, afterhoursgaming.tv. All the upcoming scheduled games will be posted there. All the streamed matches will have the streamed videos uploaded to that site as well. And if you want to stay tuned to this channel, of course, all the games that are streamed here live every Sunday will be available on this channel, also uploaded afterwards, so you can view those videos here as well. And thank you for watching. I hope you guys had a good time, and we will see you for the next game later on today. And thank you to our 4 live streamers. I hope that was an enjoyable game for you. I was absolutely blown away by how, I mean, that comeback, it's so impressive. You just gotta love games that are so close like that and come back in the end. The next game we will be having streamed to this channel, the actually final game of the day, will be coming up here in 45 minutes. That will be a civil war between Google Rage Gank and Google Minimap Reduce. Both those teams know each other quite well, so hopefully we'll be seeing a very close game there as well. If you want to stay tuned, I will be throwing myself on mute for this next 45 minutes, but I will be back momentarily, and I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Pull up a chair by the hearth.
We're going to talk about mathematics and marriage and long-term relationships as well, and collaboration with a mathematician called James Murray. So over a number of years, John Gottman and James Murray, they filmed couples in long an argument, basically. So having a conversation about the most contentious issue in their relationship. And they worked out a way to score blood pressure, their skin conductivity, recorded their facial expressions, but also what was said, right? So whether people were anxious and defensive and stonewalling, those kind of things. Just by decoding what was happening in an argument into divorced, with a 90% accuracy, which is just astonishing, right? So all couples argue, obviously, but it's the way that... So that's kind of quite interesting, right? A bit of statistics, you know, translating things into numbers. But what was really interesting, I think anyway, everything that went on in a conversation into a mathematical model and into two equations in particular. Okay, so if you imagine that you do this in sort of what she does in the conversation. So T+1 is what she's going to do, her next move in the conversation. And that's based on how she feels, based on how she feels when she's with her partner and what's just happened in the conversation in that respect. But it's also going to be based really crucially on this, based on what the husband has just said in the conversation. Now you end up with a really similar equation for the husband. The form of this equation, you can also use it to look at arms races between different countries, so that an arguing couple who are sort of spiralling into negativity and heading for divorce as...
Equation, and an equation needs numbers plugged into it. How can you enumerate things like how someone feels or feelings and conversations?
Yeah, so it's a bit difficult, and especially when it comes to feelings, it's quite hard. But in terms of things that have actually been set system effectively, and that's exactly what this team did. So they call this system the SPAF coding system, incidentally. It's just said in the conversation, you categorise it effectively. So, for example, if you're conveying joy, and your conversation generally, especially when you're arguing, is back and forth very, very quickly. So these can happen, you know, in a matter of seconds. If you kind of agree with what they're saying and support them, that's also +4 points. But then at the other end of the spectrum, if you're slightly more negative, if you show things like -3 points, if you say anything that's defensive, it's -2 points. Stonewalling, especially, that's and sadness are all -1 point. But so what you can do then is you can draw a graph where you look at couples argument, and instead of having it as a conversation evolves over time, and that's essentially what these equations do, is they model how the conversation ebbs and flows across.
Though about predicting divorce, is that a different equation, or is that just upping the ante from this equation?
Well, so they link in. The main point about this study is that you're looking at the spirals of positivity or negativity. This term here, this influence term, is really, really important. We're looking at the team have come up with a model, a mathematical model for how to present this term here. You would have an identical influences the wife, so HW. This here is what the husband has just done at time T. And this here is important rather than the actual numbers themselves. So if you imagine that the husband is quite positive. If he
Hello, everyone. I've got to take my headphones off so I don't hear that horrible echo. This is a civil war between Google RageGank and Google Minimap Reduce. We will be starting that Alright, looks like we're about to get in game here, so let me start the actual recording and introduce our two Wars Gaming League. I am your caster for the match, Chronic War Catalyst here, and we have a match between, on the blue side, Google Rage Gank, and on the red side, Google Minimap Reduce. That's right. Oh man, I can't wait to get into this game. But before we do, as the pick bans are going fairly quickly here, I do want to aim for Doctors Without Borders. That is a charity that sends doctors to war-torn regions and developing countries that are facing outbreaks of diseases that they don't have the infrastructure to handle. People in the world, in my opinion, are involved in that charity. So, fantastic cause there. And the red side Google team, Minimap Read, works to improve literacy and gender equality in primary schools in the developing world. And especially when there's gender inequality, and it's going to relegate a huge portion of the country's population to be illiterate. And this is a charity that works. I'll get into this pick ban phase because we are seeing the champs coming out right now. So first of all, Sivir, of course, a more standard ban nowadays, but Shyvana and Heimerdinger are taking a bit of a look more at that. Of course, Lissandra, LeBlanc, and Janna coming out as the bans, fairly standard bans all throughout there. Lissandra a little bit out of flavor recently, but still a very strong pickup. And now, we of course want to take a moment to appreciate the Urgot pick here. Straight away in the second round of picks for the blue side, Urgot. We are living in a world where Urgot has become a standard pick ban champion now, and this is just great. It's going to be great to finally cast a match with Urgot this season, so I'm thrilled to see how this works out. It's probably going to be that Urgot mid or Urgot ADC is what we've been seeing lately on the pro scene. These, of course, a more infamous counter pick to Zed, and with LeBlanc being banned out, Zed certainly is a strong pickup to try and make here. So they're just doing a bit of a preemptive counter there. But without locking in the mid laner for this red side, that leaves it open to where, no, we are going to see that Urgot as the ADC, in fact, for this blue side team here. Oh man, this is going to be exciting. So it looks like that will be, in fact, a Morgana Urgot lane in the bottom lane here. Ahri going to be mid, and that will be the Scion going top. It will be interesting to see if we see, as we see hovered here, the double smite coming out for either of these teams here. Hecarim in the top lane, not unfamiliar, not unheard of to take that smite with him and pick up a jungle item to do some solo lane split pushing here. And be able to you throw down the challenging smite on anybody who comes into their lane. It looks like the last pick is actually going to be Anivia here. We're going to have to remake the game very quickly because we simply don't have all the champions available to everybody to swap them around properly. But that last pick going to be an Anivia coming out here. But yeah, so as we get in, we're going to repick those champions very quickly here. And I am very excited to see, as we see a little hype in chat here for the Crab God. We'll see what's going down here. So with Anivia into Ahri, that's going to be a very contentious lane, to say the least. Anivia going to be just struggling a little bit early against that Ahri. I feel Ahri's probably going to be able to lay down quite a bit of poke during the laning phase onto Anivia and try and get as close to popping that passive egg as she can early on to make sure that's down in time for a jungle gank coming out here. As we see, of course, totally different bans coming in because fun. We're going to see, again, a lot of back and forth coming out, and with two smites coming out for this red side team, which is what it seemed to be hovered over here. We'll see as we get back into these champs to actually see what they end up going with for sure here. But yeah, it does look like that's going to be the Smite teleport coming in for that Hecarim in the top lane here. A very interesting choice going with that. Of course, tank enchantment here to try and boost all of the effectiveness of those items with that % health bonus to become just an unstoppable tank here in the late game. Will the Hecarim, of course, in addition to Udyr, who's going to just run around, auto you a whole bunch, throw on his shield, not take any damage, and run away. I mean, that's going to be tank Udyr and tank Hecarim in a nutshell there. Of course, we're going to see Nautilus coming out, going to get very tanky into the later game himself as well. And with that, Anivia Jinx, of course, going to be very large amounts of damage coming out, especially in the late game with Jinx when she can really throw on her hyper carry shoes and start running around, blowing people up. That's going to be a very intimidating force, lots of damage coming out. Of course, Hecarim, not to be neglected in his damage output as well, but especially with that smite, it's going to delay his Trinity Force a little bit because he's going to want to pick up that jungle item as quickly as possible to ensure that his smite will actually be usable in lane as a bit of a ignite pickup, though he will probably be starting with the standard boots first, boots 5, just for a little extra pressure to be able to farm up that lane a little bit quicker, though. There's not going to be too much kill pressure, I would assume, coming out of Scion. Of course, we could see the Hecarim picking up a flask start if he is particularly concerned about the damage coming in, or possibly concerned about a lane swap where he might have to 2v1. We will see what does end up coming out there, though. Boots certainly wouldn't be bad in this lane swap where you're going to need to absolutely dodge those Morgana bindings. If you don't dodge the Morgana bindings, you're going to be very sad once those Seeker missiles start coming out of Urgot and just lock onto you and poke you right out of lane. As far as we see here, for the jungle pressure for the blue side here, Rek'Sai, of course, with that slight nerf on this patch to her damage on her Q, but a huge buff as far as use of her tunnels are concerned. She's able to use those tunnels more and more frequently as the game goes on to have a lot more mobility. So once we start to hit the mid-game stage, we're going to see Rek'Sai all over the map here, especially using her ultimate to get in and out of places as quickly as possible. I expect to see perhaps a little bit of a stronger hard farming start here from the Rek'Sai to be able to compensate for that reduction in early damage, but once we hit the mid game, she's going to be all over the map trying to create as many plays as possible, get these laners as head as possible, especially once Ahri, of course, gets that level 6 and is actually able to position around that Anivia, dodge out all her skill shots, and create a huge gank opportunity there to be able to reposition, land that charm, and then chain that into the knock-up from the Rek'Sai. We'll definitely see what goes on here once we get into game. That Jinx, of course, is probably going to... I mean, quite frankly, I'm not exactly sure how the Jinx-Urgot matchup goes, to be completely honest with you guys. Jinx very typically wants to initiate some lane swaps, but with, of course, Nautilus very strong in the laning phase, very tanky, able to take quite a bit of poke himself, able to get some really hard initiation if he can land that hook, and that's going to be a very sudden hook, a little less telegraphing of it than Thresh. Of course, Morgana, a very standard counter pick to Thresh, as you see the wind up for the hook, and then he actually casts it, and then there's of course the travel time of the cast, plenty of time for you to black shield your ADC. But Nautilus just sort of chucks that hook out immediately, so it's a little bit trickier with Morgana to actually be able to black shield that hook onto Urgot. So this might be a situation where the red side actually does want to have that 2v2 lane matchup here and try and press the Crabgot, as we're seeing here with the favorite skin, of course. Try and press their poke return ability with Jinx, of course, toggling that Q onto her ranged missiles, trying to out-trade that Urgot as much as possible. And if she can dodge the poison there to actually lock on those missiles, Urgot's going to have quite a bit of a hard time actually poking that Jinx out of lane. So I take a second to reposition everything here, make it all look nice and pretty. Of course, starting with the standard visual glitch here, we're going to load into the game momentarily. Just going to look at the rift. There we go. Here we go. Yeah, so we'll see what lanes these duos try and put themselves up for. It looks like fairly standard starts here from both sides. Hecarim actually going to go for that Hunter's Machete first. Could be a sign that they're looking to do a double jungle here and initiate that lane swap. Of course, Hunter's Machete, when you have that smite, is something that you're going to need to pick up eventually for sure. But like I said earlier, that boot start just for a little bit stronger power in that initial laning phase is a bit more standard even when you do have that smite. So we could see a little bit of a non-standard start here from Hecarim, a little weaker early on during the laning phase, or he could just be looking to do a double jungle here, as we do see Hecarim spotting out that the entire team is in fact here. Anivia very bold walking forward. They're going to just throw down a ward on top of their heads. As we see that beautiful Anivia skin just walking away, no problem. Just going to throw down a quick ward there. A couple deep wards very quickly in the red side's jungle, though those wards were, of course, answered. And Sion hanging out still in the red side jungle. I do believe he was spotted out by the ward, though he could have recalled by now, so red side doesn't for sure know he's there, but he very well might try and start off suiciding on one of the enemy's camps, which would be very interesting to see here. As it looks like, no, he is going to hang out right outside that red buff. He's going to try and start that red buff here. So we see Hecarim going to start off on those wolves to get a quick level 2, but Sion going to be soloing this red buff here. I'm not sure if Sion's actually able to do this, taking a little extra damage here perhaps than he was anticipating. Let's see if once the passive is procced, if he can actually pull this off. And it looks like, I mean, that's quite a bit of damage. He might be able to just barely get it, and it looks like, yes, he will get the red buff. I guess very well practiced. Does miss the final creep, actually. Not sure if that's even intentional, but if so, that's very well played as well. To still have that delayed. And now he's got the red buff, of course. Once you're dead in this patch, you do not lose your buff. So Sion going to be heading to lane with that red buff. And will be able to 1v1 the Hecarim with a red buff. So that's probably going to be a sign to Udyr that he was counter jungled. It looks like it wasn't communicated to him, though. He is going to just clear out that small minion and then head on up to his Krugs. Yeah, great way to start off. Put that Udyr behind early and give an opportunity for this Rek'Sai to try and make a play early in the middle lane. Unfortunately, she's going to have to back away here. Does land the charm for Ahri, though, getting quite a bit of poke damage onto that Anivia. Looks like Rek'Sai's actually just going to go back early. Great binding there by Morgana. You see, of course, the cuddly crab god doing his thing, trying to lay down some poke. Morgana zoning out with that Q threat. Is going to just barely miss it. So you see Udyr trying to get that blue buff stolen away here, but not going to be able to do so. With that speed shrine already up, going to be able to make it out perfectly fine, though. Here comes Ahri, actually. Maybe I spoke too soon here as Ahri comes in. Anivia going to be able to block off the follow-up to an extent with that wall, and that's going to be enough, though they did, of course, force the flash from Udyr there. So that's a very important summoner spell down. Udyr, speedy as he may be, is going to struggle to get into proper position for his ganks without being able to flash in and get that stun. And here comes the smite actually onto Udyr. Gonna be able to retreat to his turret and make it out okay, but that is gonna be Rek'Sai counter jungling and Udyr. Very impressive play there. I mean, again, adding on to the fact that they've already taken away that red buff from Udyr onto the Scion in the very start here. Udyr is going to be falling quite a ways behind here, and poor Pony being caught out here. Doesn't have those boots, so runs a little slow here. And with that final slow, that will be the knockup, and the Prey Seeker gonna be giving first blood over to Rek'Sai here. And that is not the start you want to see. Rek'Sai, of course, going to spot out that pink ward and clear that out. But yes, if you are the red side, I mean, Udyr has been put so far behind in his jungle path already. Rek'Sai, though the creep scores do look even, Rek'Sai has spent a lot of time creating pressure in these lanes and has already resulted in a first blood for her side here. Hecarim, of course, does now have that challenging smite available, though, so he's going to be able to make use of that smite in any further confrontations going forward a little bit better here. Morgana actually is going to be hooked on there, and that will be Urgot taking quite a bit of damage. The Flame Chomper's just not arming in time there, very close, but not quite enough there, as we see Udyr going to be cleaning out that pink ward. And probably grabbing the crab on his way back past the dragon pit here. And so far, I mean, an early tier has been completed for this crab god, so he's going to be able to start stacking up that tier as quickly as possible here, as he does throw out a lot of those abilities very rapidly. But so far he is behind quite a ways in CS here. 10 CS down already. Great ultimate there from the Hecarim to dodge the knockup from this Scion here. Beautiful play. Unfortunately, it does not result in too much other than a little bit of damage here or there. But it certainly did make a huge outplay there. And Scion gonna need to answer in kind here with his ultimate. And speaking of which, he does throw down the ultimate, but Pony simply too fast. Gonna dodge right around that, and as we see in the bottom lane here, beautiful Flame Chomper zoning out the Urgot, making him go in further, though Urgot certainly able to do so, laying down quite a bit of damage, and now Pony with the challenging smite, not gonna be enough, because in comes Ahri to pick up the kill there. And Jinx, with those rockets toggled, trying to lay down as much damage as possible, and Urgot is in range for those missiles. So here comes Anivia, trying to answer in kind. Right as the Black Shield expires, that's gonna be the Urgot going down to Anivia. So respective roams from both of these mid laners, gonna be resulting in kills for both. Ahri, of course, a little bit ahead as far as CS is concerned, but great roams for both sides here. We're actually seeing Anivia go with that tier start first. A little non-standard for Anivia, but if she can make it past that power trough early on, to actually get that heal stack, or to get that tier stacked up, I mean, she's certainly going to be enjoying the benefits of that quite a bit. And as we see, this Rek'Sai taking away that blue buff, denying that from the Anivia right now. Absolute great control of this jungle here from the blue side, taking away those buffs multiple times, and now Anivia wants to stack up that tier, but without that extra CDR from the blue buff, she's gonna have a little bit of trouble doing so, especially given how mana hungry that Anivia is. But hold that thought, because we're gonna see those Flame Chompers get landed. But beautiful flash charm onto the now dead. No, the heal, no, the heal not quite enough. The Nautilus does die. Beautiful flash charm there by the Ahri, and great fear almost into turret range, just not quite in range of the turret there. barely out of scope, but here comes Udyr, and with that, that's probably going to be plenty of damage here on the Scion. Scion actually, no! Turns the tables, going to be running deep past them, and going to throw it down right here. Gonna die. And that will be... No! Scion died a little too soon! Oh no, the very last second! Scion dying. He is able to proxy that wave, but Jinx just barely going to be making it out of there. With the Seeker, though, it's going to be going down. The targeted missile is going to be enough for Urgot. Just barely. So low was Urgot. You can see even now, so low. I absolutely cutting it as close as possible there. But he will pick up the kill onto that Jinx. And now that is a 2-1 Urgot in the bottom lane with that creep score evened up here. And Pony's so low. Pony going down to that Rek'Sai. Another kill onto Rek'Sai. And all of a sudden, this game might start spiraling out of control here in favor of this blue side. Already 6-2 with that first dragon already picked up. As we see, of course, the Cinder Hulk is already picked up for the Scion here. So unfortunate for Scion that he wasn't able to wait out that aggro just an extra second there, but unfortunately did give up the kill when he did do what would have been a very beautiful outplay there, using that ultimate to run right past the Udyr and Hecarim, but it unfortunately just wasn't enough. You see the Urgot with that Brutalizer now completed, going to be doing quite a bit of damage as he shoves right through that armor. And Nibia actually going to be missing the point blank stun there, and that will be Scion getting out without too much problem there. Morgana going to be able to spot out this pink ward as well. Throwing the black shield on herself to make sure that Nautilus doesn't get anything too sneaky done. But unfortunately, that pink ward that they just placed is going to be cleared out. Lots of pink wards dying back to back to back here, as this vision denial game is being played by both teams. Urgot is going to throw on the shield, but taking so much damage, almost walks into the Flame Chompers, but barely sidesteps it, and that will be the kill. Going down, almost reverse that Udyr to get out of the ultimate from Jinx, but just not quite fast enough. So that will be a kill, finally going on to Jinx here. And with that BF sword completed, this should be the outer turret in the bottom lane going down for the red side, giving them some much needed goal here as they do get their first turret of the game. And Rek'Sai going to be catching out that Hecarim, who does look to want to fight here. He throws down the smite. And with that ultimate, that will be enough damage. Very close fight there, but between the challenging smite and the ultimate being thrown out, that's going to be just enough damage to get the kill onto Rek'Sai for that Hecarim. And now Hecarim going to be able to go back. And I would think probably, yes, have enough gold to upgrade those boots a little bit. Get running a little bit faster here. Not quite enough money for that Home Guard enchantment just yet, but well on his way here to the speedy pony we all know and love. As we see, of course, in the mid lane, Anivia going for that beautiful, fantastic full greed build that I personally, just love myself. The tier catalyst into the Rod of Ages, of course. Once those items are completed, Anivia is going to become a nightmare, though that is presenting a very strong opportunity here during the power trough that both those items provide. It's going to be a very vulnerable Anivia here, and she will actually be able to pick up that blue buff this time around. That could mean very well that this next dragon that's coming up in about a minute and a half might have to just be given up by this red side if they can't find a very good engagement here, just to make sure that Anivia power trough isn't really capitalized on with a whole bunch of kills by this blue side. So we'll see just how aggressive these teams get. Anivia just barely out of range of the charm, making out with her life by just this thickness of her feathers, I suppose. We're gonna looking for those bindings. Not quite able to thread the needle there, as Jinx does manage to sidestep it here. As we see some brawling continuing in the top lane, but with that challenging smite and now the level advantage as well, Akram is going to be taking quite a bit of, or dishing out quite a bit of damage, but there's the return smite, the chilling smite, and the prey seeker going to be enough to finish up the Hecarim, who simply does not have the vision to be that far up in his lane without a turret. The Rek'Sai, of course, going to just make that lane her home. We see even the pink ward very deep in the jungle for red side. Udyr now going to be spotting that out, going to be able to clear it out. Yes, he does in fact spot it, so we'll see if this Hecarim starts to play a little bit more careful. He does now have that upgrade on the home guard, but here's Anivia being caught out. The egg is up and the egg is popped, and that should be enough damage to finish off. Yes, that will be the kill going over to Ahri here. But here comes the cavalry, the teleport coming in. And that looks like it will be absolutely a complete dismantling of the red side here. As Hecarim going to be going down next as well. It looks like it was just a little bit disorganized there, going in one at a time into a meat grinder. Only Udyr going to be able to make it out alive with his life here. And there's exactly what we were talking about earlier on. Perhaps maybe should have just given up this dragon here, not tried to take it themselves, not tried to really contest it. Let that Udyr run around, try and farm himself on up, get a little bit tankier, give Anivia the time to actually get that Rod of Ages completed and stacking, get those stacks on her tier completed. But unfortunately, it looks like this red side team did opt to try and go for that contest and paid the price for it, quite frankly. But here's an ignite onto Ahri. Not going to be enough. No, with the Jinx ultimate, that will be enough. Great play there from Jinx, knowing that that Scion was going to stay just enough in range for that AoE to still be able to proc onto that Ahri. And of course, if Scion had sort of backed away, back towards the red side's territory here, that Anivia would have been able to follow up with a stun onto him as well, and that could have cost him his life. So fantastic play there by the Jinx. Great game sense there and great team communication to let her know that that was a clear path there. It's a good shot. And again, I mean, that's going to be the hope here for this red side team. Now that Anivia is sort of very close to getting those items stacking here, Anivia is just sort of a matter of time before she comes into her own, but the key person is going to be that Jinx. Jinx absolutely needs to, you see the blue buff going over to Ahri there. Jinx absolutely needs to jump ahead in her build a bit to make sure that she can hit that late game hyper carry stage a bit faster. And once she does so, this red side is going to have quite a bit more power and quite a bit more threat here in these team fights. Right now the gold lead, of course, 3,000 gold in favor of this blue side because of that 6 kill advantage and that turret, though those turrets are evened up. Are you going to be barely missing both the hook and the charm there? But here comes Hecarim, going to be diving under the turret here, and the great swap there, making that Udyr take quite a bit of damage, and Udyr going to be locked down as well. Udyr simply went too deep, too far under that turret, and will cost him his life. This is why those Urgots are being picked up nowadays. People still not quite used to playing against him, and if you go a little bit too hard, just a bit, he can absolutely punish you with that ultimate to just lock you down, make you take that extra damage, and that will be the mid and bottom lane turrets going down in favor of this blue team now. it looks like that will be the blue buff being picked up as well onto the Urgot here. Very scary to see a blue buff onto an Ahri and an Urgot. Going to be able to lay down quite a bit of damage on anyone who dares step near them here. And Urgot, of course, not the best at taking down these turrets, but when you're this far ahead, he's certainly going to be chunking them out quite a bit. And there's a challenging smite from the Hecarim, but he's in the middle of a bunch of minions here. The minion damage certainly not negligible, though Sion looks to have run out of mana, so going to be forced to retreat. The ultimate is not available for Hecarim, so he will be forced to back off here. Still looking to fight here in this top lane. The ultimate almost ready to come up here for that Hecarim, though it looks like he is going to opt to just go back there and let Sion farm this wave on out. The creep scores for all the lanes here seem to be fairly even right now, even amongst Morgana and Nautilus, funnily enough. Slight advantage in the mid lane towards that Ahri, but no real huge advantage again. While Anivia is stacking up that Rod of Ages that is now completed and is waiting for that tier to finish up and get stacked as well, so she can get the Seraph's Embrace coming out. Oh, but there's a catch onto Anivia. Great dodge of the charm there, just immediately sidestepping it and then flashing the binding as well. Fantastic play by Anivia, absolutely fantastic. Preventing what should have been a definite kill there. Very experienced player on this Anivia, clearly here a champion they know well and can navigate properly. To actually just be able to comfortably sidestep that and not burn that flash and save it for when they needed it onto that Morgana. Very impressive play there. As we see Urgot, of course, stacking up his Mana Moon here. Almost completed there. Going to be very close to transforming here. As we see him continuing to spam out those abilities as much as possible. Get those extra stacks here. Actually going to try and fight this Sion. And that's going to give the Sion cause to run here. A little bit concerned about why exactly this lone support is willing to 1v1 him. Going to cause him a little bit of pause to step on back there. And great charm onto the Anivia there. Going to take a couple of turret shots for their trouble, but overall great poking damage there. And beautiful knockback into the turret range onto the jungler. And now Rek'Sai forced to run for her life here. The pony gonna give up on the chase though. That Rek'Sai mobility just a little too strong. But coming right over to this dragon, of course they are low, but I do not believe there's any vision for this red side. They might have seen some people walking there, but that's not going to be enough to cause them to come and contest it here. And that will be the third dragon of the game going over to this blue side. But of course, critical movement speed dragon going to be giving a lot more mobility for this team that very much relies on being able to position themselves here. Of course, Rek'Sai, you're going to be able to use that to position yourself a little bit easier for that knock-up CC. Morgana, going to be able to land those bindings a little bit better. Ahri, going to be able to land those charms a little bit better. A very important dragon that was not even contested by this red side here. And perhaps the right decision, as of course that Anivia is still waiting on those stacking items. That Hecarim does not yet have that Triforce completed. But they're going to be on the bubble now going forward with that 5k gold lead to this blue side here. And with those three dragons, any more dragons going over to the blue side could spell disaster for this red side here. As they absolutely do not want to open up a scenario where they can give up that Dragon 5. So near forced to contest every dragon going forward here is the red side. As you see some Vision Wars going down as the vision starts to come out around the Baron pit here. Lots of sweepers coming out, of course, for both sides here. We do see the upgraded ward trinkets here. Essentially, miniature sight stones here functionally. good defense of this pink ward here for the red side. Going to be able to fend off that Rek'Sai Scion ward killing squad. Rek'Sai is peeking around, perhaps trying to look for somebody here. And the hook just barely going to miss out. Unfortunate for that red team. Definitely would have been able to capitalize on a hook onto the jungling Rek'Sai here. Might have been able to even force a Baron, I should say. But unfortunately that will not be the case here, as they are still worrying about clearing out the wards of their own jungler. We look very briefly just at how littered the map is for this blue side with the wards into that red side jungle here. Very painful for this red side, and they did opt to go with just the one sweeper so far. 2 upgraded yellow trinkets here to get down their ward vision themselves, which of course they have done quite a good job of doing. Hold that thought as, no, going to be able to dash away, but this jungling Rek'Sai might be caught out here. That is a challenging smite, and the gap close of the ultimate gonna be enough to catch up. No, the tunnel network simply too strong here, but Scion a little caught out as well. Looks like this blue side seems to be going in kind of one at a time, but here they are, right as I say that now, grouped, all 5 of them together, leaving a little opportunity for some AoE, but unfortunately none of it's going to be coming out here, and that will be, it looks almost to be a 5-for-0 here. No, Rek'Sai did go down during all of that, but Anivia on the wrong side of the map here, trying to contest that red buff, but needs to just get out of there as quickly as possible. It looks like she will in fact do so, but that could mean this blue side, yes, they will in fact be going to this Baron. It is warded, and unfortunately they will actually spot that out with the true sight from the Morgana sweeper here. But Anivia going to step forward to contest, throws down the ward. Going to be looking to throw down her ult and see if she can steal it out, as of course that smite is not around, but the charm, the ultimate misses the charm after that gap close, and that will be enough to sort of force this out. And here comes the pony teleporting off that ward. Anivia gonna have her egg popped here. And it looks like the pony running away as hard as he can. Anivia does eventually go down, but here's Jinx. She has that Nautilus in tow, but Urgot just stepping forward, 1v1ing that Jinx. They're absolutely demolishing her. Got a little bit caught out here, but again, this red side did not go in as a group. They tried as quickly as possible to all get there to stop this Baron, but in the end that resulted in just an extended ace here going over to the red side. I do believe that Hecarim got away, so that was in fact actually just 4 deaths on the red side, but that gold lead now extending even further, nearly 10k gold lead here. The the Baron is eventually going to be given up on by this blue side here. But so many kills, I'm not sure it's even worth it at this point. It might have been better to just cede that Baron, being that they got essentially nothing out of that aside from a bit of a delay of game here. For the red side, I mean, we do see, of course, for Anivia now, that Rod is fully stacked, almost fully stacked here. Going to be fully stacked in the next couple minutes. And that Seraph's Embrace is a little bit out still, but is going to be up here fairly soon. But it might simply be too little too late at this point, as the blue side is going to set up some vision here, taking that Scuttle Crab. Going to try and get this dragon set up here. Morgana being a pest for sure. Rek'Sai just waltzing right past that Jinx, who doesn't want any of it. And that's going to be Nautilus, tanky Nautilus, going down like it's nothing. As Anivia trying to fly her way out of here. That is Ahri. Beautiful ultimate charm there that time, and that egg is not available again, so that will be Anivia going down. And with the Anivia down, that looks like it's going to be an uncontestable dragon for the spread side here, as of course we see the pony trying to even contest this turret in the top lane. As we do see that 4th dragon now onto this blue side. Udi, you're not going to be able to interrupt that ultimate, so Scion's going to make it out no problem. Going to just recall now that he's ulted away to safety here. But with that, this red team is definitely on the bubble. Great hook there, max range hook onto that Urgot. And there's the Chompers, gonna actually ult himself into the turret range, but doesn't even care. Huge damage coming out from this Urgot. Urgot is absolutely going insane right now. 11, 2, and 7. Cannot stand up to this Urgot with that Muramana fully stacked now, I do believe, yes. Urgot gonna even try to fight the challenging Smite Pony here. Gonna think better of it once he sees that Anivia is in tow as well. But here comes Scion, looking to get that knockup. He actually does land it, and those Seekers gonna be enough to kill the Anivia again before the egg is available. Absolutely devastating play here coming out from this blue side. And now with Scion, with that Muramana completed, but Jinx ultimate not going to be enough to take down either of them, unfortunately, for her. But with that Frozen Heart complete as well, with another Brutalizer already built, this Urgot is looking to go absolutely insane. A flash hook onto the Ahri here, but this might not be a fight the red side wants to take. It is 4v3 with a very low couple of members, but so far not able to get anything off of it. Jinx focusing down that Scion, a little afraid to step forward there to try and get the damage onto the squishier members. But that's going to mean it's another kill for the blue side, unanswered by this red side here, and they will turn that into a turret as well. Inner turret in the bot lane down, so only the inhibitor turrets now stand for this red side. And with 4 dragons already locked up by the blue team here, this is not the situation you want to be in for this red side team. Now with that Black Cleaver completed as well onto Urgot, so much damage coming through here. I mean, just scanning all of the members of this blue side, it's hard to find a weak point. Even Scion has 14 assists, so he is so far ahead in his item build when compared to Hecarim. It's just going to take a miracle here for this red side to come back. I mean, we certainly did watch a game just previously where there was a 10k gold deficit for the majority of the game that was eventually overcome by that team and pulled out a victory. But I mean, I just can't imagine. This gold lead has spiraled even further out of control. It's now 16k gold lead for the blue side. I don't know if that's something that can be overcome at this point. Certainly don't have champions too for this blue side that sort of fall off later in the game. Morgana always going to be useful here, especially with that Zhonya's now completed as well. Going to be able to lock people down constantly, even throwing wards down in the base of the red side. Absolutely, just painful to see here. There's certainly a lot of wave clear with that Anivia, with that Jinx. They should be able to turtle up as hard as they can, but again, with those 4 dragons already in the name of this blue side, with that Baron up and available, you gotta wonder how much turtling will really help them here, because they can just go around, pick up the Baron, siege a little bit harder, pick up the dragon, have Dragon 5, force a team fight at a turret that will eventually go down. Jinx throwing out the ultimate just a little bit too soon there, unfortunately, but a good try there. Essentially the only thing you can do at this point. You can't go out there and try and contest it, so you've got to just pray that Jinx can land a miracle ultimate, and very close but not exactly the right timing, unfortunately for her. And now with that Baron, they're going to look to siege this top lane inhibitor turret here. If they can get a crack in the base, the turtling prospects for this red team are actually absolutely going to be decimated here. Trying their best to keep those minions off the turret as long as possible. Rek'Sai actually going to back away here to try and create some pressure in the middle lane as well, as now they do have that cannon minion being able to continue to chunk out that turret from a ridiculous range here. Anivia going to be able to clear that out with her ultimate, but that is already an entire wave cleared back by this blue side. And with Rek'Sai working that turret in the mid lane, as we do see now with the pony running over there, trying to back her away and doing a good job of it. But that middle lane turret already so low, they're just going to face tank it here. Even with the turret going on to Urgot, that will be the middle lane turret going down, and then absolutely obliterated is the tanky Nautilus. And then the tanky, I mean, these tanky members just falling like they're squishies at this point. And poor Pony trying to ult back just to safety, but unable to do so. And that's a 4-for-0. This could be the end of the game right here if the blue side decides to push this out. And it looks like they will be doing so. Anivia gonna try her best here. That's a good ultimate, landing on a number of members here, but Anivia taking so much damage from those Seeker missiles there. I mean, so much damage coming out from those turrets, but here come the minions in time. And Nautilus gonna do his absolute best to run in there. Anivia throwing down as much damage as she can, and gonna be going down. The egg is available. Udyr and Jinx are up. Jinx does completely whiff that ultimate, unfortunately, but that is gonna be enough damage from the Scion and Rek'Sai in tow, of course, to finish off the Nexus, and that will be the win going over to the blue team here in a game that absolutely spiraled out of control in favor of this Google Rage Gank team. And as we look at the general recap here, the scores for both sides, I mean, it really tells the story. 9 kills to 32 kills. Absolutely insane game, spiraled way out of control. The Urgot 14, 2, and 10. Absolutely a must-ban pick going against this Google Rage Gank team in the future. Insane power there demonstrated. Scion had a little bit of trouble early on, but was a huge factor in half of the team fights as well. 18 assists, was all over the map, participating in a huge number of kills. And speaking of such, we of course see the Morgana. 3-0-20, a perfect game coming off of Morg here. Absolutely fantastic to see. Just looking very quickly at the damage totals for the game here. Urgot and Ahri both putting in around 27k damage. No one coming even anywhere near that. Hecarim, the close, almost breaking the 20k ceiling there. But absolutely unmatched damage percentages here, or damage totals here, coming out from the 2 carries of this blue side team. And very, very strong play on the Ahri as well. We saw a number of times that she was able to get a dash off her ultimate and land a perfect charm that created a kill, get a flash into a charm and get a kill. Very expert play there as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see that Ahri be a very high priority ban going forward as well. But overall, that is going to be the game going over again to Google Rage Gank, beating out Google Minimap Reduce in this civil war here. Putting that victory, keeping it, of course, in the Google umbrella, but specifically going over to Rage Gank here. And if you want to stay up to date with all the upcoming games here in the After Hours Gaming League, you can always, of course, go to the After Hours Gaming website, afterhoursgaming.tv, as is shown on your screen now in that beautiful logo. All the schedules for upcoming matches will be posted there, and of course every Sunday I will be casting games live streamed to this channel, and of course matches will be uploaded to the channel immediately after as well. So stay tuned to my channel if you want to see any games cast by me personally, of course, but all the videos that are cast by our many casters will be uploaded to the After Hours Gaming TV website, so please stay tuned to that website as well. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you had a great time, and I will see you guys next time. And a huge thank you to our live streamers, our 4 live streamers who are hanging out right now. I hope you guys had a good time. That is going to be my last game for the day here, so I'm going to be signing off. I will get this last game uploaded here momentarily. The first game that I casted earlier today was an absolute nail-biter, huge comeback victory. A bit of a spoiler there, but definitely worth the watch if you guys have the time. Yeah, aside from that, that will be the day closing out for me. If you want to check out any of those videos, again, they will be uploaded momentarily. The game we just uploaded should be up within about an hour and a half-ish is typically how long it takes to process onto YouTube. But yeah, so stay tuned. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.